In Jerusalem, the custody of the Holy Land celebrates the 800th anniversary of their presence in the Middle East. There were 3 days of conferences, liturgical celebrations, and meetings. And the special message of Pope Francis renewed the Franciscan mission in the Holy Land. In the afternoon of Monday, October 16th, at St. Saviour's Church, a liturgical ceremony presided by the Minister General of the Orders of Friars Minor, Father Michael Perry, opened the anniversary celebrations. This was an opportunity for the many friars of the custody to meet. Father Francesco Patone thanked Father Michael, the 120th successor of St. Francis, for his presence. He also mentioned Gaetano's paintings, which tell the journey of the first friars to the overseas mission. It was a simple but exciting celebration with the renewal of the profession of the gospel. In the words of the Minister General, this is a reference to the call, and it embraces instructions for today's friars.
In qualche modo credo che le chiamate e queste chiamate dentro chiamate è lo stesso.
Somehow I believe this is the same call Francis progressively discovered in his life, alongside the friars. These feelings lead him to go among the people, to be present and to accompany the people who are already guided by God throughout history. But the purpose of history is not just to remember what has been done, or to recall what we have done as friars in the last 800 years, but it is rather an invitation to look ahead, which is very important in today's context.
Però la storia non è semplicemente per ricordare quello che è stato fatto, quello che abbiamo fatto i frati minori 800 anni, piuttosto è un invito per guardare davanti. E questo senso di guardare davanti è molto importante, anche nel contesto di oggi.
Stepping outside the boundaries, going to the outskirts, as Pope Francis has often pointed out, where people need it. These are the words of the minister which highlight the particular challenges Franciscans face in the conflict areas such as Syria.
Viviamo molto da vicino, dico così perché con
We are close. We traveled with Father Francesco Patone and other friars as we visited the Christians in Syria. The week after Easter, we traveled to tell them that they are in our hearts and prayers.
Per accompagnare queste popolazioni e per dirgli che sono veramente nei nostri cuori, nella nostra preghiera.
The second day began with the Eucharistic celebration presided by Cardinal Leonardo Sandri, prefect of the Congregation for Oriental Churches, who invited all those present to rejoice and renew the mission. At the end of the celebration, the Cardinal delivered the Custos, a message of Pope Francis, which was read by the Secretary of the Apostolic Delegation, Archbishop Marco Formica. Joining together with my venerable predecessors, starting with Clement VI, that with Bola Gratias Agimus, entrusted you to the custody of the holy places, I wish to renew this mandate, encouraging you to be joyful witnesses of the risen Lord in the Holy Land.
La missione
The mission of the custody of the Holy Land is to allow these places, living stones that have seen the passage of Jesus and that have heard his words, to continue to be alive, together with the Christian community of Christ's disciples who live and work in the Holy Land. This is an unmatched mission in the life of the Church, which was reconfirmed by Pope Francis in his letter today, as has been done by his predecessors for the last 800 years. That is why we rejoice and joyfully participate in this 8th centenary of the presence of the friars of the custody in the Holy Land.
Come lo è stato fatto da 800 anni dai suoi predecessori.
Userei 2 parole. La prima parola è riconoscenza. Riconoscenza anche per...
I would use 2 words. The first word is gratitude. We are also grateful for the trust that the Church gave us then formally in 1342, and now through Pope Francis. The letter he sent us through the prefect of the Congregation for Eastern Churches, Cardinal Sandri, is a very beautiful letter, and I dare say it means a lot to us, friars in the Holy Land. The words he uses when he recalls the Gratias Agimus, saying, I confirm, is the confirmation on behalf of the Church of our calling, of our mission to stay here.
Chiama la Gratias Agimus e dice vi confermo. È la conferma a nome della Chiesa della nostra chiamata, della nostra missione a star qui.
The cycle of conferences was inaugurated by Cardinal Leonardo Sandri. The prefect of the Congregation for Oriental Churches offered a passionate reflection on the charism of the order and on the origins of the Franciscan mission in the overseas lands. In his speech, he addressed the representatives of the various churches, as well as the civil authorities, the diplomatic corps, and the present, saying, I am pleased to bring my greeting on these days of celebration and of relaunch of our mission for the future of the Franciscan presence in the Holy Land. The day continued with the contributions of numerous and prestigious speakers who took turns to address several different topics. Professor Philip Seda from the Antonianum Pontifical University began the series of lectures with an in-depth look at the chapter 1217 and with the analysis of the figure of Fra Elia of Cortona, appointed by St. Francis as the first minister of the new overseas province. Professor Giuseppe Legato, a historian of the Crusades, addressed the same historical period, focusing on the city of Acre, which became the capital of the Crusaders. The pastoral activity of the Franciscans was crucial to such multicultural and complex context. The evening ended with a virtual trip to Syria, thanks to the intervention of Professor Emanuele Main, historian of the Hellenistic and Roman period. The lecturer presented the fruits of a painstaking work of cataloging which, with over 10,000 photographic documents, recently gathered by 3 friars of the custody, has allowed researchers to identify more than 300 sites. Wednesday began with the Mass celebrated by the Vicar General of the Order, Brother Julio Cesar Bunader. Art and archaeology were the topics of the discourses. Professor Don Lorenzo Capitoliti from the Antonianum Pontifical University gave an impressive presentation on Giotto's frescoes from the Basilica of St. Francis in Assisi, whose reproduction is exhibited in the custodial curia. Father Eugenio Aliata, director of the Archaeological Museum of the Studium Biblicum Franciscanum, talked about the remains of the ancient Franciscan convent of Zion, located next to the cenacle. Professor Narcis Klimas spoke of the first Franciscan convents in the Middle East. Monsignor Pier Battista Pizzaballa, apostolic administrator of the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem, also attended the event in the Holy Land for 20 years, of which 12 as custos. Monsignor Pizzaballa stressed how local social reality has changed over time. As for the Franciscans, I have seen the passage of several generations. I accompanied some of them and I trained others. I see so much enthusiasm and desire to serve these lands, always accompanied by the same passion. Their service to the identity of this church is important. This is the church where all Christians as such were born. Their assistance to the local believers, their work in parishes and schools, as well as the various activities and pilgrimage services they offer, are part of the identity of this church. I believe that without the Franciscan presence, this church would be far more poorer. We owe the Franciscans much of what we see. We are all at the service of the church, and we are where the church has placed us. Serving the church in Jerusalem is always a blessing. My words of gratitude are first and foremost addressed to all the friars who have been part of the custody, witnesses of Christ, some even with their own lives and with their own blood. And therefore I want to express a word of encouragement so that in the future they will continue their mission as disciples of Christ.
Discepoli di Cristo.
Going all over the world with evangelical creativity.
Sta realizzando adesso in ogni singolo frate che si trova.
Presently, this is achieved in every single friar who is here, along with Christians and others who are on a journey of faith, on a journey toward mankind. In this centenary and during these celebrations, we do remember the heroic arts of the first friars. But we cannot forget the desire of today's friars to always carry the message of Jesus Christ, the message of peace and reconciliation around the world.
Ricordiamo, come dice, queste aperture, questo desiderio dei frati di oggi, sempre di portare avanti il messaggio di Gesù Cristo, il messaggio della pace, della riconciliazione di tutto il mondo.
Noi dobbiamo ringraziare il Signore perché tutto
We have to thank the Lord because we can say that. From the very beginning we have received abundant blessings from the Lord who sent us to these places. It is the Lord who sends us. Today, we bring to life the same gospel of the first friars minor who came here to the Holy Land. We are guardians of a very holy place like our Holy Sepulchre, which is our source, the root of our faith.
Sepolcro. Per il custode, praticamente è il custode del Santo Sepolcro. E lì è la fonte, la radice della nostra fede.
Words of gratitude were expressed by the friars and by the many guests who came to the celebrations. Their gratitude is first directed to God for what He has accomplished over these centuries through the Franciscans, who are His instruments of peace and love.
Noi dobbiamo essere profondamente riconoscenti non per quello che
We
abbiamo
must be
fatto.
deeply grateful, not so much for what we were able to achieve in these 800 years, but especially for what God has done through a simple, poor instrument like the friars. Therefore, by remembering the starting point 8 centuries ago, we are also recalling the seed from which everything started. Yes, let me reiterate. It is not so much what the friars have done or will do, but what God did and will do through the friars.
Ma è quello che Dio ha fatto e farà attraverso i frati.
The 3 days of celebrations concluded with the recitation of the Solemn Vespers in St. Xavier Church, followed by a classical music concert organized by the Magnificat Institute. On the notes of Bach, Mozart, and Vivaldi, the repertoire of the students, the former students and the teachers of the custody of the Holy Land expressed thanks and praise to the Most High.